it's very important to get to know ourselves. Now, to know ourselves also has the transcendental aspect of knowing the self, our true deeper identity. But until we're all completely enlightened, to know ourselves also means to know where we are here in this world, in this life, our personality, our level of consciousness, the way in which we manifest. We can say that to know ourselves at this level would mean to know our states, because our states define us from this perspective. Like my spiritual guide, Gregorian Bivolaro, says, the yogi is known by his states, meaning an advanced practitioner of yoga should have high spiritual states. If a person is not having high spiritual states, he's probably not very advanced in yoga yet, and he still has a lot to work, which is good to know. To know how to get somewhere, first of all, you need to know where you are. But here is a mistake that many people do, and which I have noticed I myself am doing, which is to judge ourselves or to evaluate ourselves according to the highest states we experience, to know ourselves according to our peak states. For example, we could have at some point in some exceptional conditions an excellent meditation and we experience a state of transcendence, or at some point due to some special circumstances we are experiencing for even some days or even a week a wonderful state where everything is in peace, where we feel that we are in deep contact with the universe, where nothing rattles us and we are always deeply centered in our hearts. But those are states which we have them once for a short time or a little bit longer time, and we might pass years since we last had them, and still we believe that those states define us, define where we are. Like my Tantra teacher, Advaitananda, says, it's like we take a snapshot of that state, or like a postcard, like somebody which has traveled to another country and then he takes a postcard. Look, here I'm standing next to this beautiful view, and then you keep it on your fridge. Every time when you feel that you miss that place, you look at the picture and you think, oh, it was so nice to be there, but you are not there anymore. It's just a memory. It does not describe who you are. And this leads to many mistakes, because then a person can think, wow, I am really advanced, I had that state, I was so deeply present in my heart. But just earlier today, you got so angry that you screamed at somebody and you almost hit them. So obviously you were not that centered. Were you centered just before when you're so angry? Are you centered right now? Considering this, it is better or much more correct to define our level, define our place on the path, not by the peak states, not at all, but by our average state, meaning our average state, which includes in it the peak states, but those might have been a few hours in a year, and all the general states we have day in and day out, and also the very bad states which we sometimes have. They are also a factor. From another perspective, we could say that we are defined by the lowest states we could experience and that we do experience, because that shows the lowest that we can fall. You see, you can build a tower of states climbing higher and higher, but if that tower doesn't have a very clear foundation, very strong foundation, then at some point the whole tower can fall and you're experiencing terrible, terrible states. Well, that is the level of your base. You should build from the bottom up so that you do not fall down anymore. And then the lowest state that you experience is at some point defining your true level. So how do we do that? Well, it is good to look at ourselves in an objective eye, and we will find our true level not in those ideal moments, not in those exceptional periods where everything works out fine and the conditions come together so that we have very good states. Not to judge ourselves how we are when we are on holiday, because that's not us, that's us on holiday. But to look at ourselves when we are not at our best, when we are tired, when we are hungry, when we are very busy, and then we see how we are when the conditions are not necessarily on our side. When we are tired, are we still loving, or are we very much lost in the mind? Well, in that case, maybe we're not a very loving person as we thought we always are. Sometimes we're loving, but sometimes not. When we're very busy, are we so accepting and patient, or are we actually quite impatient and nervous? Because that means that this is also part of us. That's our state when the outer conditions determine it. Eventually, the state which we call our own is a state which is not dependent on the outer circumstances. It's the state which we have no matter what are the conditions. When we're able to be happy, no matter if everything works fine or if everything falls down, no matter if we are having a lot of free time or we are very busy, no matter if people praise us or criticize us, when we are experiencing a state of happiness, no matter what the conditions outside are, then we can say that we truly conquered the state of happiness and it defines us. Until then, it's a state that comes and goes. From this perspective, we can say that a state is ours only when we can have it at any moment we want, and for as long as we want, no matter what the outside conditions are. About this we will talk more in